and thank you for joining me for Let's Talk on this evening. Let's just jump right on into tonight's discussion. Let's see which one. Actually, we're going to take this one on tonight. This should be, if I'm correct, discussion number 6. And this one reads, this woman is asking for this specific thing. Again, this is women dealing in ministry. If you don't know why we're taking these particular topics and we're jumping right in, go back to part 1 or the first discussion that we started on Let's Talk, and you can find out why we're doing what we are doing right now. So I'm not going to prolong it anymore. I'm going to jump right in tonight. And again, this should be discussion number 6, if I'm correct. So this particular one says, um, this person is asking for more patience with her husband, and she says to be a more godly example. Oh boy, I tell you, this is on that. This is dealing more with a relationship series, and we're actually going to well, I'm not going to say anything about that right now. You can hear more information about that. But more patience with my husband, she says, and to be a more godly example. One of the things about this, especially if you are in ministry, first of all, men and women, we know, are very different. They're totally different, and they're unique in their own specific ways. One of the things is, I think the first of all that we need to realize, and I'm talking from 30 some years of marriage, so I mean I can really I can understand what she's talking about here. But I think that we have to first of all realize that our husbands, our spouses, they are just who they are. And sometimes we as women, because I believe this is just my own personal belief. This is Let's Talk with Pastor Tanya. So I am discussing um, how I feel on this particular subject. You can feel free to comment below. You can feel free again to voice your opinion. You can feel free positive opinion. You can feel free to also give some examples that you may have as a woman, as a wife, that you have experienced that works for you again. But first of all, I would suggest that we realize that our mates are not us. And sometimes what I mean by that is that we go into or have without consciously thinking about it, we try to make our husbands, our spouses, who we want them to be. One thing about a woman, I believe that God has created her with uh many uh abilities, and she can take those abilities and she can work them. She can take on many tasks at one time. She can prioritize here, she can work here while dealing um with this. She can have one kid on the hip while she's holding the other kid's hand. I mean, that's something that I just believe that God has given women. You have women that are the head of their households, and there's no longer that husband there. There's no longer that male uh, also in the house. So she takes on a lot of responsibilities. And I believe that God has given us as women that ability and to be able to function strategically and to be able to do certain things. But I find with that is that sometimes what we do is we put that on our spouses, meaning that we expect them to be able to accomplish many tasks at one time. And when they don't, and when they're not able to do that, we as women, we get frustrated. Come on, let's just tell the truth. Let's just be real. We get frustrated, and it's like, well, why'd you do it that way? You could have did this at one time instead of going back to do that. You had all that in front of you, and you just could have finished three tasks at one. Well, they don't think like that. My husband says that I have, and he can tell you, we're going again, I'm not gonna spoil that, but he can tell you, he says that I have like the mind of a computer. And it's just there, and I'm able to do things and remember things where he doesn't work in that fashion. He has his own positives, he has his own way of doing things. And so we have come to be okay with that. Sometimes it gets frustrating. Yes, it does. But I think, again, I said all that to say this, that we have got to, if we want to have more patience with our husbands, first of all, we got to understand and realize that they are who they are. And we cannot change them. We cannot change them. Another thing is that in order to be patient too with our husbands, we got to remember that our husbands take on a lot of responsibility. I know us as women, we are multitask and we're able to take on responsibilities all at one time. But really, God has made them the head. They are the head of that household. And when you have a husband who has a family, he has a wife, he has children, he has a job that like my husband is in manager position, so he manages people, so when you have this man, and you have where God has given him the responsibility of taking care of us, the responsibility of taking care of his children, raising his children, working outside the home, um working with different people. Listen, we have to remember that he has a lot on his shoulders. He has a lot. He has a lot. I mean, financially, he has the responsibility of trying to meet our needs when sometimes we're complicated and he doesn't know what we want. And then we expect him. That's another thing, ladies. We expect them to know what we want without even saying it. We just expect them to know. So we can't change them. They are who they are. God made them who they are. And that's okay. You got to be able to deal with that. Secondly, you got to realize that your husband, he takes on a lot of responsibility. He has a lot of responsibility with his spouse, taking care of his spouse, taking care of his home, making sure everyone is intact, along with his own outside job, his own outside careers, his own feelings. He has his own feelings as well. Another thing is that some men have been raised and geared to believe that if they're not doing their responsibility well as a male, that it really takes a toll on them if they're not thinking that they are all that we need them to be. Listen, ladies, it is vitally important to make sure that your husband knows that you are his priority. I don't care if he's taking care of you, you need to take care of him. So can't change them. We have to realize they're who they are. Secondly, that we got to remember they have a lot of responsibility. Thirdly, I think that we need to remember a lot of times, ladies, that our husbands need us. Our husbands have feelings. Our husband, he needs our support. He doesn't need the mother in us. We mother our children. We don't mother our husbands. We don't. I know that because God has made us, again. I believe that we as women have such just abilities. We have this unique ability to function. I'll say it like that. And to meet people's needs and to mother them and to make sure that everyone is okay. Sometimes your husband doesn't need, he just needs you to be there. He just needs your support. He just needs you to say, hey, thank you. He just needs you to say, you're doing a good job. He needs your comfort. Sometimes he just needs your touch. He doesn't need you to tell him everything that he is not. He doesn't need you to tell him what he's not doing. He doesn't need this. Again, I'm telling you, this is all going along with you. You want to be and learn how to be patient with your husband. You got to remember that he is an individual as well. Can't change him. He is who he is. He has lots of responsibility. He doesn't need you to mother him. He needs you to be his wife. And he doesn't need you to hold out. Sometimes I'm telling you, you want to uh you you sometimes women, you got to stop holding out. And I know that we're talking about believers. We're talking about, this is from a godly standpoint. This is from women in ministry. This woman wrote this specific thing that she is bringing before the Lord. That is a hindrance that she wants to be changed. Well, again, you got to remember that he is who he is, with great responsibility, with needing your support, and he doesn't need your condemnation. He needs your uplifting. And he doesn't need you to hold out. You know what I mean, ladies. We get upset, we get mad. Uh, so you're not going to give him any. All right. Listen, you need to cut that out. You need to support your husband in every area. He needs you. Another thing this lady is saying, that she wants to be more of a godly example. Well, that goes back to remembering that you are supposed to support your husband. You are supposed to give him that support. You're supposed to uplift him, even when he's not doing what you want him to do, even when he is not meeting your need, even when he is not being the best that you think that he should be. It is not how he actually treats you, but it's actually, if you're talking about being a godly example, you got to remember that just because he is your spouse, he is a child of the Most High God. How do you see your spouse? How do you see your husband? How do you see him? How do you view him? Um, and stop comparing him. Don't compare him to someone else and their relationship. That does not work. However, it happens. Don't compare him. If you want to be more of a godly example, then get before God. God cares about everything that you care about. God cares about this woman's feelings. God cares about this woman's relationship with her husband. God cares about how she's treating her husband. God cares about those private things that she doesn't even say. God cares about every detail of this relationship. He cares about how you're treating your husband. Obviously, she cares. Obviously, she sees it as a problem. Obviously, she is bringing this situation before God. I tell you, there is one thing, especially in the body of Christ. Sometimes sometimes we forget that even though we're dealing in relationships that are godly, sometimes we need to relax. Sometimes we need to indulge in one another even more. I mean, even, I mean, in every area of your life. invite the Holy Spirit into your relationship. Invite him into your bedroom. Invite him into your private space. Invite him into the things that you cherish about one another. Invite him to come in every area of your life. It makes a difference. I'm glad that this is actually one of the things that the women actually put down and is bringing before the Lord, because I think with any relationships, a lot of times, especially in ministry, we get so busy with other people, and we get so busy being patient with other people. We get so busy being more of a godly example to other people, and we just take sometimes our relationships with our spouses for granted, especially if you have been married for a lengthy amount of time. Sometimes it becomes mundane, and you don't want it to be like that. Date your husband again. Date your wife again. Make things exciting. Whatever works for you. Again, don't compare yourself to another person's relationship. That is very important. And ultimately, of course, being more patient with your husband, being more of a godly example means you got to stay before God. Think about how patient God is with us. And I ask myself sometimes, I mean, I'm talking, but I'm listening to me talk. And I am not just saying these things to you, but I actually go back and I have to put them in practice as well. Do I get impatient sometimes with my husband? Yes. Do can I be more of a godly example to him? Yes. Does the Holy Spirit convict you? Oh, yes, he does. That is why I say if you are a woman in ministry, you are in even even not in ministry, okay? And I know that we're on this topic because we're talking about, again, real things that women in ministry have written down, that are in the leadership capacity. But I'm telling you, it is important to stay before God, because in and of ourselves, all of us can attest to being impatient with our spouse. We can all attest to that we have not responded in the most godly manner at times, and we need to. But it takes staying before God constantly. And again, I say, how do you know that you're even maturing in these areas? Well, it takes dealing with your spouse. It takes dealing with other people. There is, and I think it was maybe, I don't know if it was last year, but I did this series called the Power of Her, talking about women in general, women in ministry, women outside of the ministry, women being mothers. And I think it was I think I did it was either three parts or four parts. And you can go to Bryant UFCC on Facebook. You might can tap in some kind of way, I don't know, through TYB Ministries, whatever. But when you get a chance, go back to actually listen to that series, The Power of Her, talking about influence, talking about women in ministry, talking about wives. You probably would be surprised of some of the things that were said. But anyway, I ask you if, um, again, if you, as we wrap this up tonight, again, we are bringing everything, and that's what these people have done. They actually, again, go back to how we started this discussion, to find out why we are just jumping into these different topics and talking about them. But in this leadership conference, again, the whole prophetic enactment was to bring these things before to the Lord because they are actually dealing with them. And I think it's good. Not only do I continue to pray over them, but again, sometimes we need to talk. We need to talk about things that go on. We cannot be so heavenly minded that we are no earthly good. If you are not able to deal with the person that you live with, if you are not able to have patience with your children in all their situations and circumstances, and you can be in ministry and be patient with other individuals that you come across, and you cannot be patient, you cannot be godly, a godly example to those who you interact with every day and sleep with and live with and commune and fellowship with, there's a problem. And that's where it begins. How can you love God, say that you love him, but you cannot love your brother? Think about that. But anyway, as we wrap this up tonight, I pray that these conversations are a blessing to you. I thank God that I have seen some of the comments, and the ladies. There was a few ladies that commented, gave their testimonies. That is awesome. Again, I say that shows the power of God. That shows that this woman, she's not dealing with this alone. There are other ladies in ministry. There are other women who are functioning in the kingdom every day, and they need the same thing. They are having trouble in their relationships with their husbands. They are having trouble in their relationships with their children. They are having trouble in relationships on their job with the people that they're trying to deal with every day. So these people are not alone. So I ask you, if this is a help to you, then share. I see that some people have been sharing the videos. God bless you. Share them. Also, you share with me. Continue to write your positive comments. Continue to um, give someone else your testimony, your what helped you, what helps you to deal with being patient with your husband, what helps you when it comes to being a more of a godly example. What are some of the things that we can actually do? Hey, it's all about us being helpers of one another. So until next time, may God bless you. May God keep you right where you are. Because guess what? He knows where you are, and He loves you still. Be a blessing to someone else as you grow throughout the rest of your week. Again, this is Pastor Tanya with Let's Talk. Until next time, God bless.
Together, we are bridging the gap, and Let's Talk is continuing to do just that. Do you have a topic that you would love to discuss? Whether it be relationships, marriage, careers, parenting, ministry, there is something that we could talk about. And guess what? In doing so, you're encouraging and uplifting someone else. Join Pastor Tanya live on Facebook at #TYB Ministries BTG on Facebook. The topic on your heart may be the key to reach someone else. Send in your topics at 1-863-349-0505.